Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. Nope. So, yep. I have a motion moved by Bev Cutting and seconded by John A. Bell. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby returns to open session of Council at, what do we got? 7:01 p.m. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. And Mark, you can let the minutes show there's no matters arising from the closed session, and only those matters that we went into closed session were the only matters discussed. And there's no matters arising. Consent agenda. I have a motion moved by Mark Rapke and seconded by Dave Molson. Be it resolved that items A1 to C2 inclusive contained in Part 1 consent agenda be adopted, and further that authorization be given for the actions to be taken as may be necessary to give effect to the recommendations contained therein. Is there any questions or comments on that? There is one correspondence. I believe it is was on the Diabetes Day, and I was wondering whether we could pull that, Mark, and do that endorsement. Diabetes Day.
Miscellaneous correspondence.
In the miscellaneous correspondence.
Diabetes month, yeah.
Or Diabetes Month, I guess, or day.
And World Diabetes Day. There's two.
Yeah, there's two of them. Awareness of Canadians Diabetes Day, a month, and the World Diabetes Day, to give endorsement of that, November the 14th. And I don't think, so can we do that, Mark? Any objections? Do we have any objections about doing that? No. No? Okay. So you got a resolution for that?
Direct motion.
So we'll do that as a direct motion. Very good. Any other questions on the consent agenda motion? If not, then I'll call the question. All those in favor of the consent? Any opposed? Declare that carried. Thanks, Mark. I'm not conflict on that one. Okay. Then that will move us down to communications from Mayor and Council. Is there any communications out there that any council would like to inform us of? Councillor Lawrence, Carol.
Just keep Saturday, November the 1st on your calendar. It's the Newstead Recreation Craft Show. That's the big money maker and a big craft show. There's well over 100 vendors and many, many people attend. It's well worth going to.
And you're not going to mention about November the 2nd at Newstead being even more well attended?
I'd leave that one to you, Mr. Mayor.
The day after. Oh, I've already signed it. Okay. Yeah, November the 2nd, the day after the craft show, is always the annual Lions Club Pork and Kraut dinner. So I believe from 4 till 8, or 4 till 7, 4 to 7. There are no advance tickets sold to that. It's just come to the door, keep lining them through until they never run out. I don't know how they manage to do it, but they'll put somewhere between 800 and 900 people through, and they still, whether they've got some little piggies outside or another cabbage that they shred up, I'm not sure which it is, but they do a tremendous job, and it's well worthwhile going to. I had the opportunity last Friday night. The Bendick Plowmen's Association had their annual banquet dinner at Lamlash Hall. Was able to go and give the Bendick Plowman greetings and an endorsement on 75 years they celebrated this year that the Bendick Plowman's has been going. Interesting, the plowing match that was held 75 years ago. This year, at the end of September, they had the plowing match again on the same farm, on the same field. One of our employees out at the Bendick Depot, Doug and Diane Miller's farm, hosted this year, and it was the same farm with different people. Doug said that, no, he wasn't there 75 years ago. Different people. So that was on Friday night. On Saturday night, I attended the Normanby Optimists. Councillor Lawrence was there as well, too. I don't believe you got written into the script quite as much as what the mayor did. Had their murder mystery. The Optimist Club had their murder mystery, and was a very entertaining evening, as usual. And I don't know, Councillor Lawrence, did you identify the murderer? I know I didn't, so no, they were able to slip that one past you as well, too. So good for the Normanby Optimists that are still continuing on, putting on some entertainment, but also raising and investing back in the community down there. They do a wonderful job, so just wanted to say that for them. Is there nothing, no other communications then? We're a little bit early. We do have a delegation. That's what we're down to, but I see that Mr. Schmidt is not here. If he does get here, we'll adjourn from staff reports, but in the meantime, Carrie, if you want, we can start with your reports first. And starting with the financial report that Carrie has there. So is there any questions on the finance report? Seeing none at this time. All right. Then I have a motion moved by John Eccles and seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that the Director of Finance Treasurer be authorized to pay the accounts presented as voucher number 19, 2014 of the Municipality of West Grey in the amount of $1,080,906.22. Is there any questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay, and then moving on. Let me just get to that, Carrie. And Carrie, your next one is, excuse me, on the Frazzle Fest. And you've got a letter there asking for a grant for the Frazzle Fest. That would be a 2015 budget item. Does council want to incorporate that into the budget? Any recommendations or suggestions for Carrie? John, Councillor Eccles.
This is the second annual. Did we support them the first time around?
I don't believe a request came in the first time. No, I think they did it all on their own. Like, we assisted with pylons and parking barricades and stuff, but I don't believe they requested any funding last year.
Some of the work, especially the ice sculptures, were pretty impressive that they did, but is there any comments or direction? John, Deputy Mayor Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Carrie, I know I read the letter. There's not really anything specific in there as to what they want to use this $2,500 for, is there? It's just a grant, free will, $2,500?
Yeah, they just note that they would be happy to provide details of the plans.
I would like to probably hear the details before I made up my mind on that, for sure.
As it's going to be a 2015 budget item, I think need a little more detail, but incorporate it in or put it into the draft and see how council wants to handle it when we get some more information and what is going to be proposed for the investment into the festival?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Carrie? Good enough with that? Excuse me, the next one was a memorandum, is the bylaw for the Durham Girls Alumni Band. It's there. Do you have any other questions, Carrie, or comments?
Yeah, this just sort of follows up on our commitment with the Trillium Foundation that we would be retaining ownership of the instruments that we purchased under there, but also just sort of extending it for future, for both use, storage, and future purchasing of the equipment and uniforms for the band, so that then should the band fold, that we retain ownership of the entire asset.
The assets, and that bylaw is further. Carrie was just looking for if there was any comments while she was here before the bylaw was presented. I think it solidifies, as you said, with the Trillium grant, and it's a win-win for certainly the Durham girls and for the municipality to protect those assets. Okay. Well drafted up. The request from Trinity Lutheran Church, the cemetery. I think we've dealt with a few of these in the last year. Just one more that we have coming forward. Don't believe there's any comments. This is just one more of many that we may, of a couple more that we may see. I do have a motion moved by Rob Thompson and a second by Don B. Marshall. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby agrees to act as trustee for the Trinity Lutheran Church Cemetery Perpetual Care Funds. Any questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no questions, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay, and the next one is a request from the Royal Canadian Legion, the Ontario Command, for requesting consideration for an advertisement in their volume book. Yeah. Any questions? Deputy Mayor Bell. John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This similar request came forward last year, I believe, did it not? What did we do at that time?
We just filed it for information.
I thought that was right. Thank you.
Are you making that kind of as a direction to file it for information, Mr. Bell?
I think it should be note and filed, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, okay. We certainly support the Legion in other ways, and very thankful for the local Legion of supporting us as well, too. I think this one is more on a corporate side that I agree with you, Deputy Mayor. It should be corporately supported. Okay. The next one is an update on the third quarter mileage reimbursement. And Carrie has that there. It's just for information purposes as we follow the county. And that's where the mileage is now. Okay. Are there any questions of Carrie? Very good. I do see, if that's Carrie, no questions. Thank you. And our delegation is here now, so we will backtrack on the agenda. Mr. Schmidt. Mike?
I was invited for 7:15.
Yes, and it's 7:16, so that's why I'm here.
How would I take this?
If you could use the podium, Michael, and there is the black button on the left-hand side will turn the microphone on. Sorry, the right side.
Right side.
Your right, my left.
There we go.
You've got it.
I think I speak loud enough.
No, you do speak loud enough, but it is for
Recording purposes.
recording purposes, and you do have individuals that it
It's almost like in court.
needed. I wouldn't know. I don't have that much experience. Could you talk to us about
Well, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I really want to appreciate all the work you did in the last 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, however you have been there. And I'm certainly not known here for creating lots of controversy for you. However, at the end of this term, there's one issue I want to address. And it's a very simple issue. It has something to do with cows. And that is that you passed a bylaw. I didn't check when you passed it, but it was certainly part of your work here in regard to entrance permits. and that they had to be 30 feet wide and whatever. It has to go through all this approval process, which I'm not objecting to. I totally agree with council that there should be some framework or some guidelines in regard to establishing this framework. However, I have one problem. That it is a rural community, and you somehow forgot that there are still farmers out there moving cows on the road. I don't know how many there are left, but at least I'm one of them. And to give you some positive feedback, I mean, there's lots of negative feedback because people really like to speed on the second concession, and it slows them down, which is actually to your benefit in regard to accident-prone roads. However, there's a lot of tourists also coming to see these cows on the road, but that's not the reason why we do it. The reason is that our farm is divided in 2 lots. One is about 3/4 mile up the road from the home farm, and that is where we started years ago to bring the cattle down after the first cut and graze them down the road. Okay, we still cattle grazer here. And so what I did, unknowingly, honestly unknowingly, it was not intentionally breaking the law, but unknowingly I put in gravel, and because the gravel is higher than the ditch, I put a culvert in. And I put a culvert in for the cows, so that the water can flow through, but the cows still not messing up the ditch, which is, as I know, township property. So what I'm actually, and I'm straightforward, I'm actually requesting that you amend your bylaws regarding the entrance permit, and I can tell you it will have no problems. It will create absolutely no controversy or problems for you guys, because there's not many people moving cows. And if you define it very clearly that entrance permits do not have to be issued or don't have to be the 30 feet wide, because cows don't need 30 feet to cross, that you would allow a 15-foot entrance for the cows to get in. The reason is I don't want that anybody drives in there, okay, into that. I just want it for 8 weeks, seasonal entrance, but I don't want to mess up township property, that they're going through the ditch and then messing it all up and then going out on the road and making a mess there. So it's a very straightforward, simple request. It shouldn't since you guys love passing bylaws, it shouldn't be hard to pass an exemption to a bylaw, and then provide basically the opportunity that we don't have to put a complete second entrance on lot 49. And I'm talking about, everybody knows what I'm talking about, concession 2. You know that, no? Everybody knows where concession 2 is.
Everybody's okay? Yep. Okay,
yeah?
well, I think
so.
Yeah.
You know what, yeah. So that is a very straightforward, simple request. If you need any more suggestion in regards to that, I'm willing. But for me, I have 2 concerns here. The one is a concern for the ditch, and the second concern is that Tim is the one who has to enforce the bylaws. And I think he has a little bit of hard time. I mean, we're getting along fine, but he tells me all the time that council has passed it and he has to enforce it. So he is bound by the bylaw. So it puts him always in a kind of an awkward situation in regards to that other people ask him, well, shouldn't he have a permit? And then he says, yeah, well, there's a permit law. So please consider that. The season is over now. The cows are not on the road anymore. So it's not a pressing issue. But certainly it's an issue because the culvert is in there. I invested in the culvert. It is 10 or 15 feet wide, and I tried to do everything according to what the requirements are. I also want to raise an issue which not necessarily has to do with that, and that is the ditch issue in general. That and that came also this winter with Tim when we started cutting dead trees on the side roads. And then there's hundreds of them down the road, everywhere. And when I talked to Tim about it, he says he knows the problem with dead trees And in the last 20 years, I tell you, it's probably, I can count 5 times where I had to swerve in order to avoid a tree falling after a storm down. And these were dead trees, these were not live trees. So the issue is, how do we keep the ditches on the side road clean? You guys can't afford it to clean it. That's pretty obvious, because Tim said, I wish you would continue cleaning the side road down south of 4. But there should be a consideration, you know, how without a huge amount of paperwork, one can actually sit down and figure out how citizens can be part of cleaning ditches. I mean, cleaning ditches, not garbage, but dead trees and so on, and make it more visible. I think we did a great service for the road department to clear that road, because there was the school bus coming from the north line couldn't see at all to the north where the traffic was coming from. So we did that. And the third thing is due diligence on your part is the controversial crossing of snowmobiles over the ditch, also just south of the north line, which is backing up the water now even into our property because it cannot run freely. And there was a bridge over it, and then they put another bridge over it, and now the water actually cannot flow freely anymore out of that drain, out of that area, and it's backing up in our property. But I just want to draw that to your attention that this needs to be looked after. Least not last, due diligence. I counted about 12 entrances on the road which are legal, but not legal under this bylaw, and these are the snowmobile entrances. In the winter, there's at least 12 snowmobile entrances onto the road without a road permit, just coming out of a property on the side. So there's different options. We could call our cows snowmobiles, or you could consider just put a little amendment to the bylaw to allow that we can, and I would work with Tim together on that. Okay.
Are you available to take any questions if council has any there?
I would love to answer all the questions you have.
I assumed that, yes. Does any council member have any questions for Michael at this point in time? Start, Mr. Thompson. Don't argue over the microphone.
Thank you. You called it. Just wondering, so you're quite aware of this bylaw that you have to purchase an entrance permit, and have you purchased the entrance permit?
No,
and
because it really does not apply in any way. I picked it up here, and that is why I'm so stuck with it. Yeah, because you get an entrance permit if the entrance is 30 feet. I don't want another entrance permit for a second property.
But that's what that bylaw stipulates, to put an entrance in there. You just can't go and put whatever size you want in there. That's why that bylaw was set in there, that you set in what's in that bylaw, that's the width you have to put in. You just can't put in a little cow path, because that's not what the bylaw is.
That's what you think. Honestly, that's what you guys think. Mm-hmm. But the point is, I don't want an entrance in there, okay? I want simply a cow path, and I think there should be enough flexibility from the council to say, because there's no danger, you know, if we say, well, a cow, you know, for seasonal moving of cows should not be a problem to say should be exempt from an entrance permit. That's what I'm asking for.
The other question, are you going to remove all that culvert and that fill that you put in there?
No.
For the winter, you're just going to leave it there?
I just leave it there.
Okay, my question is, the bylaw stands as it stands now, and you're in violation of that bylaw by putting that. Did you ask permission to do that at all before you just put it in?
I said at the beginning, I explained, I don't know if you didn't hear that. I said that right at the beginning, that I wasn't aware of that because we moved the cows before, and the only thing I did is, because of the muddy condition, that I then added gravel to it.
Yeah.
2 days later, Tim came to me and then said, you actually need a permit. And I said, sorry, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, okay.
Deputy Mayor Bell.
It is, I mean, you ought to know the law, but you ought to be at every council meeting to know every detail of every bylaw in, you know, so it's rather difficult to.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, I think if anybody that wants to put in a entrance would check with the municipality before doing so to find out what they can do.
Thanks, Mr. Good to see you. Question. You have another entrance to that property approximately 100 yards, maybe south of this present laneway.
It's exactly 175 feet from there.
Okay. Why would that laneway not work?
I wanted to be earlier off the road because it's another 175 meters. So I wanted to be earlier off the road. And cows like to go in the corner and go out there instead of going in the middle and go out. It's just how cows work. You know that.
Yeah, I know. I guess if they know they're going out, okay, and they can, I know you have people on the road and herding them, and I understand that. I also understand, I think the herding of livestock up and down the road is the second oldest act maybe in Ontario next to the Line Fences Act. So I know that is in the statutes also, but okay, with one laneway there, I was wondering why. And this laneway is a 30-foot wide laneway with a culvert under it.
It's actually not 30 feet, but it's from
Okay. It was put there 40 years ago, so it might be a little smaller. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Bev?
Ken, are all our farm entrances, like if people have a second, third entrance into a field for farming purposes, do they have to be 30 feet wide?
Yes, they do actually. There's a lot of them ask for a wider entrance now because of the larger equipment, 40, 50 feet, some of them. Yes.
Any other questions? I don't think at this time, obviously, as you said, Michael, there's no livestock grazing.
Yeah.
The way the weather's been, they would be floating more than grazing out there in the fields these days, but that's a different thing altogether. I'm going to make a suggestion that we look at this type of thing. It certainly is a one-off. We have other companies trying to do business with the municipality. I appreciate you coming and trying to work with us to see how the entrance permits will work. We have other companies out there that don't seem to do that. They do it through the courts, so that is good. And we'll see what we can do over the winter. That I can say to you, if there is, some way of either amending the bylaw or putting something in for livestock entrances. As you said, you were one, but I do know of one other farming operation that moves cattle, maybe not as far down the road, but certainly across the road in Gunnelg as well too. So I think that would be the best thing, Ken, is, we can work on this.
Plus, I also really want to draw, especially Rob, to you, the fact that snowmobiles crossing roads without an entrance permit. So, either you guys are consistent with entrance permits, or we really need to look at, what can be done there. I certainly don't like breaking the law,
And I agree with you fully. There are times when you will challenge it, and that's what we should do. Carol.
You pretty much covered what I was going to say, but I was going to suggest that we should take this under advisement and discuss it, because everybody here is talking about entrance permits, and that's not what Michael's looking for. It's not an entrance permit for vehicles. So, and I'm not sure we'd want to amend that bylaw. It might just be an exemption for purposes of moving cattle or something. So I certainly think it's something we should look at and try to, we need to support agriculture, and if that's one thing we could do, that's something we could, rather than sticking right to our...
Thank you, Carol. And the other thing, if that would ease your pain, I'm willing to remove the culvert for the time being until a proper solution has been found. I have no problems with that, if that helps to kind of...
And I think that certainly would, if we can do that, Michael, then, we can start...
I have no problems with that. And then we come to a solution, and then next year we look at it.
Yep.
Okay?
Very good. The one thing I would like to just say in clarity, the snowmobile clubs file a trail plan with us, with the municipality each year on where they're going to be and what roads they're going to use and what accesses they need across that. I guess it's something that we do under a trail permit or a trail agreement with the municipality in that tourism type activity. So it's not that they don't have, they are recognized under our by resolution.
That's good. So we just should have a cow trail past them. All right, gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen, thank you for all your work, and I wish you all good luck in the election. And if you need me, I'm certainly open to come.
Very good. Okay, well, thank you very much for bringing it to our attention, Michael, and look forward on the dialogue back and forth to see how we can resolve.
Thank you.
Good.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Moving on then. I see Carrie has certainly moved on. That was Finance Treasurer. She's getting home before it gets too wet out there. Director of Infrastructure and Public Works, Ken. Your reports are here. The first one is on the Water Systems Inspection Report that we got from the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. The name of environment has changed. It's not MOE anymore. For information, is there any questions on that, or Ken, any other comments? Go ahead.
No, there were two very good reports, as indicated. Just the one minor glitch in the DERM report where the operator didn't sign off on both wells. I guess you're supposed to do them separate, but they had that clarified before actually the reports come out. So then Newstead, there was nothing. So it's very, very minor issues that come out of these two reports. So they continue to do a good job for us, American Water. Excellent.
Okay. Good to hear that the water is certainly safe out there, and that MOECC is working with us now. The next one is on the winter maintenance, the bylaw. Ken's got that on his report here. I think just looking for any questions before the bylaw is presented. Are there any questions on that agreement with Grey County on Stonehill Road and county doing that part of it, and for municipality, and the municipality doing the short section of 27 here off of County Road 4 going up to 6. Ken?
Yeah, I did check with Carrie as to the what it was costing West Grey to have the maintenance done on Stonehill Road. And it was $1,530 last year, so it'll be less that plus the $1,200. So it'll be a $2,700 turnaround here for on the positive side.
Okay. Yes, John.
Just one comment. I do know that the Transportation Department at Grey County is happy with this, as is Ken. And it's taken a little while and a lot of paperwork, but I'm glad everybody's happy. So carry on.
Yeah, I can turn it off from here. Okay. So there's no other comments on that, on the bylaw. I think a good working partnership, and good to see that the two, we can save a little bit of money or and make things a little easier instead of having snow plows running up 2 or 3 roads, 3 or 4 plows running up 1 road. You have one additional item, Ken? Or maybe 2 or 3, I'm not sure which. I know you have one anyway, so. This one too. Yeah, we have one here in front of us. So do you want to present it at this point in time? The Coke contract?
Yes, we've done some further investigations on the Coke Coca-Cola contract that was presented to us from one of their representatives here some time ago, and we've come up with this recommendation is that we feel we should stick with Coca-Cola with their type of financial terms they have with in the contract. And we looked at the outside sources with no guarantee of a supplier and paying premium rates for products, and also the cost of staff running around picking up pop or soft drinks. So we feel that the Coca-Cola contract would be the best way to go for this particular time.
Okay, is there any questions on that? Seeing as it's a contract, I think we usually do those by bylaw, so if there isn't any questions or anything, we'll ask Ken to work with Mark on preparing the bylaw for the next council meeting, sorry. Okay?
It's not time sensitive, we don't need it tonight.
No, we don't need it tonight. I think it'll kick in on January 1st. Yeah, so it's not time sensitive. Okay? Is there anything else, Ken?
We had some recent changes in the distribution lines that Nexterra has sent a revision as of last Friday. There were some good points, and there's still they still have the distribution lines attached to the bridge on concession 4 of Glenelg up just east of Glenelg Road 23. They're asking for comment. They have corrected the distribution lines on Glenelg Road 23, just north of concession 4 of Grey Road 4, but there continues to be the issue with the cables on the bridge, and they've asked for a comment. So I know council had a concern about the cable on the bridge previously, and just wondered if they continue to have the same thing. We can certainly send comment back that we're still concerned about having the cables attached to the bridge.
Hanging Deputy Mayor Bell. John?
Well, recognizing, of course, that we do not have a road agreement, and the cables are actually attached to one of our infrastructures which are part of the road, I absolutely do have a lot of concern about that, and we're not in a position at this time to do anything about that because there's no road agreement, so there can't be any cables attached to a part of our infrastructure, which is the road.
Okay, Ken, any other questions or comments about it? I think it certainly needs that sent back, that we're trying to be consistent here. We don't have any other infrastructure or any other companies with infrastructure off of our bridges that I'm aware of, certainly anyways, Ken. And this would be consistent with that. There are certainly a number of other options, because I do believe it's coming up to that bridge underground, and probably would be very much beneficial to stay that way as an underground effect. Okay? That I guess that comes as some slight surprise that the company is still changing here. It's almost like a chameleon from day to day. A number of items keep changing on the haul routes and distribution lines. So we'll see what comes up next when we have the comments back to them. Okay. Anything else?
We've had some flooding on Bells Lake Road just north of Glenelg Road 23. There's been a water course blocked off by on private land, and it's started to cause some flooding on Bells Lake Road just north of 23. We've contacted the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority late last week, and they are currently looking into it, but we're hoping to get some action on this because it's going to cause some problems that we'll have to eventually close the road if we can't get anything straightened around. So.
Okay, well, we've identified it and certainly made the, if it's under a water course, I think it is under the purview of the Conservation Authority when it comes to water courses. Our representative director, do you comment on that, or?
The water course is on Saugeen Valley property, is it not?
No, it's on private property.
No, it's not the Conservation Authority that's blocking their own water off this time. Don?
Are we talking about beavers that are blocking the waterway, or somebody put a culvert in and put a driveway over the water course, or?
No, certainly it's a man-made problem.
Just filled in the waterway?
Yes.
With gravel?
Well, fill, yes.
Fill.
Yeah.
So you've made contact with Conservation Authority, and under emergency they'll probably look into that expeditiously. Good. Okay. Any other surprises for us tonight, Ken? That's it?
That's all I have
all
this
of them.
time.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Ken? Rob? Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, I did speak to Ken earlier this evening. I had a request from the Durham Trailblazers Snowmobile Club, and I would like to ask council their permission for them to use the speed sign for their event in February. They have a weekend event with all kinds of activities, and they were wanting to use the speed sign. And we're just asking council for their permission. They can use that. I guess they talked to the chief, Berger, and he's not objecting to it. And I would just talk to Ken, and he's okay with it. So we're just wondering if council will be okay with approving that usage for the weekend in February for their events.
Is that the same weekend as Fresno Fest?
I'm not sure
which,
they're trying to organize it again. I'm not sure which weekend it is. But they thought if they set up the speed sign and they have a track set up and everyone can, they draw quite a crowd for it. So I just asked permission for the use. They'll pick it up, maintain it, look after it, and bring it back. So.
In working order?
Yes.
No, they've been very good work. Do you want to direct council? We could do that at the next, have a motion and, yep, put that on for the next council meeting? Okay, all right. So we can have a motion then. Very good. Any other questions for Ken? Oh, Ken, there was it came out, we're having leaf pickup. Did I read that right? What's the exact date? Because I'm just, Dave, do you know the date?
Monday, November 17th.
Thank you. I knew it was in November. Okay. So for everybody out there, there is a leaf pickup on that day in the, I think it's in the urban centers, correct? Okay. So just for information out there. Well, if there's no other questions of Ken, thank you very much, Ken, for the reports. And that moves us down then to bylaws, Mark. We have two bylaws tonight. The first one is on the winter maintenance, bylaw number 70. I have a motion moved by Carol Lawrence and seconded by Mark Rapke. Be it resolved that bylaw number 70, 2014, being a bylaw to enter into a winter maintenance services agreement with the County of Grey, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, deputy clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions on this motion? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. As I said before, good partnership, use of equipment. The second one is bylaw number 71, and this one is the Durham Girls Alumni Band, MOU. I have a motion moved by Don B. Marshall, seconded by John Eccles. Be it resolved that bylaw number 71, 2014, being a bylaw to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Durham Girls Alumni Band, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, deputy clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Is there any questions or comments on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. That's it for bylaws. Mark, is there any new business? This time, Councillor Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to bring up the issue of the bridge in Newstead for the Mew Creek. It's come to light that there's a bridge for sale on the government Gov Deals, I think it's called, on the website. It's from the City of Waterloo, and it's a steel arch, small arch bridge, 60 feet long and 5.9 feet wide. And what I'm looking for, and Ken can go in give a better explanation, or Larry, but this is exactly the type of bridge and probably within the money figure that the Recreation Committee was looking for. I know that the snowmobile kind of in the last few weeks, I guess, came forward and wanted to talk and perhaps collaborate on a much larger bridge, and a bridge that would allow a groomer across there. But I will say that is not what the Recreation Committee was looking for, and probably if we're looking likely about 100,000, because this one with Dolly's design and then the estimate that was Ken got, it was going to run around, was it 67,000, I think, Ken? So that was out of the question as well. This would be possible to buy it, to sandblast and paint and move and so on within the figure that we had in the budget from the committee. If the council would allow us to put a bid in subject to inspection of the bridge, and that Ken, I guess, would go down, or Steve or someone, and look at it and see that yes, it is, you know, it is in good shape. And I think Larry was going to perhaps talk to the contact person to see why they are replacing it and what the story is behind it. So just by getting your agreement to put a bid in doesn't necessarily mean it would go in if in fact it wouldn't pass inspection by our people, or if it's beyond, if the price goes beyond what we have in the budget. And that is all fundraising money. There's no tax money in there. And this, I understand, Ken can explain it better, but I understand it's kind of like an auction sale, and the bids, you keep an eye on the bids, and as they go up, you know, if it reaches what you've put in, then you may want to put in a higher bid. But Ken or Larry, you can probably explain that whole thing better than I. But oh, and we don't have a motion from our rec committee, but Don, our chair, did a phone poll, and everyone is in favor of putting a bid in on this bridge if it is in good shape. And we would then, if the bid is going to go in, the rec committee would then have a special meeting and pass that motion. So there's a trail for it.
Comments? John, Deputy Mayor Bell.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, it's a wonderful suggestion, Carol. I'm not trying to blow the wind out of your sails. It sounds too good to really be able to come to light because it's somebody else's idea. But if it would work, I think it'd be a great thing. Quick question. There would have to be abutments probably put in there to set this on. So
yeah, this
would it have to come out in the wintertime?
No.
Anybody?
No.
We're talking a permanent structure that would be going on the abutments. Okay. All right,
and what would happen, we would have to have a crane to move it, because it's as is where is. A flatbed to move it up, a crane to lift it off, and it would be in the park for the winter. In the spring, the abutments would have to be constructed, and then a crane come in and swing it into place.
Well,
And we do have costs on that.
And I certainly don't have a problem with the whole idea and recognizing it's their money, they should be able to use it as they see fit. But it's buyer beware, and I'm sure they know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
That's why it would need...
Approach with caution.
Yeah, well, the caution would have to come by inspecting it, obviously, and council would have to authorize somebody to go down and look at it. Well, the bridge has been manufactured and it is stamped with the weight and so on. Yeah, it's not it's not been constructed in somebody's backyard.
Okay, I got a couple of questions. Councillor Eccles, John, and Mark.
A bridge may be stamped for where it's sitting, but I'm afraid that once it gets moved, it may have to be approved again by an engineer before they'll let the public back on it.
For which?
Once it's moved, it may have to be engineered or inspected by an engineer to allow public access back on it.
Well, I would hope that's the sorts of things we'll find out once they're down and talk to the contact people and look at the bridge.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just that an engineer is gonna have to put a stamp on it when it gets all done. And who that's gonna be, we're not sure, but I think they're gonna have to look at it at that end, and then they're gonna have to be willing to, if it's placed on the abutments right, put their stamp on it. It's all about the stamp, so, okay.
Mark, Councillor Rapp.
Yep, that's all. I think it's a great idea. Just whoever inspects it needs to be an engineer, right? Because we've been talking about other bridges with loads and whatnot, so just to protect, we need an expert's opinion, and the stamp that John's looking for, I'm in favor of.
What's the time frame on the auction? When
We
does
have
it
only
run?
8 days left. I think the most crucial thing is for somebody to go down there tomorrow and take a look at it. That's, I mean, if it's rusted, if it's if the deck is rotted, that's,
Then it's,
somebody has to look at it.
Who's that gonna be?
Where is it? Waterloo.
I think between Ken and whether we've got a tech, deer season starts in 2 weeks, so you might be available for a few days, Ken? Region of Waterloo, yeah, that's where it is, Mark. Anybody else have any questions? Don?
Well, it has to be an engineer go down and look at it. It can't just be, I can't go down and look at it. We're not gonna buy the thing if it's not engineer approved. So sometime in the next 8 days, I guess, it has to be an engineer at $175 an hour, right down to...
Well, I would suggest that somebody from our staff should look at it first, Don, because if it's visibly not in good shape, why pay an engineer? I mean, Ken can come back and say, no, it's rusted badly or the deck is gone. If it's in good shape, maybe then that's what we have to do, but we have to do it within these 8 days.
John?
So recognizing it's the committee's money, is the committee gonna pay to go down and have somebody look at it and pay for an engineer to go down with them and look at it? And
We have a budget figure for that bridge.
I'm just not sure why, for instance, Ken has to be put in that position to go
Well,
look at
it is going on municipal property.
But it's all about the
And
engineer.
it will be municipal property. It'll be owned by the municipality. Purchased by the fundraisers.
Who's gonna pay for the engineer, like it was brought out here at $175 an hour versus somebody going down at $40, $50 an hour?
I'd have to ask Larry and Ken if is that right? Do we have to have an engineer look at it there or a visible look at it? Obviously, they're talking an engineer when it gets on, before it's swung onto the abutments or when it's swung on, but you're talking two inspections by an engineer here?
Possibly. I think that's what's being questioned. Ken, go ahead. So you want to get in?
Yeah, I think you'd want to have an engineer look at it before you start transporting it up here because it's huge cost to get it up here. So I think we should get somebody to look at it down there.
Do you not think, though, Ken, that somebody like yourself or Steve should take a visual on it? And as I said, if the thing is in bad shape, we forget it. Somebody needs to make that, see that first. rather than pay an engineer $175 an hour to go down and say, oh, it's all rusted, it's rotted.
John?
Maybe we should just phone our local engineer and ask him what his thought is about whether he needs to see it before or after. If it's visible, do we need it inspected to put it on the thing? It's all conjecture that it has to be engineered again before we set it back on the abutments. Maybe the engineer's opinion should come first. To see if he wants it, we'll just look at it here, or if he wants to go down and look at it there.
Okay. Larry, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I believe what we're looking for at this point in time is authorization to actually look into this. All of this would be taken into consideration. Staff would have a look at it, and if it's deemed worthy enough to have it checked, then we would get it checked by a certified engineer before it would be moved. Obviously, we need to know whether or not it would meet the purposes or the intent of what it's there for to be able to transport it up here. If it's not going to get through that, have someone down there, and we contract a local one down there. We wouldn't hire somebody to drive down for X amount of dollars. I don't know where the 175 came from, but I believe it was a comment from council. But we'd retain the services of an engineer from the local area who would ascertain whether or not it's viable to even use this bridge for what we have it. But we need the authorization from council to even get the process started, and that's what we're looking for this evening. And if we do find it's viable, we have a budget within which to work with. We're taking into account the considerations for the installation of the piers, moving it, lifting it, and all the ancillary costs involved with that. So I guess we're looking for is authorization from council this evening to proceed with that. We'll make sure the necessary due diligence is done from our perspective.
Okay, with that information, I think we could, if we could even enter that into the minutes, just as direction, from what Larry has quoted there, given direction for staff, Larry, and basically under the direction of Larry and Ken, to do a viability study, or not sure whether there's any more words to put into it than that, of the viability of this bridge, and get back to us and get back to the committee. And as you said, there was a budgeted amount in the 2014 budget for this.
25,000.
Yeah. Okay. So there you are, guys.
Does that then authorize them to start to place bids? So if it's a viable project? Because we do only have 8 days to place those bids. And again, as I said, it's an ongoing, you watch it, and can staff do that?
Yeah.
Could Ken or Steve or one of our staff who are familiar with that?
Yeah, I think Ken's very familiar with gov deals and has purchased theirs.
Keep an eye and, yeah.
Okay. Yes. To all of those questions, Carol. Okay. All right. Very good.
So can I ask that somebody get back to me so I can contact the committee as well? If we're going to go ahead and put a bid on it, we've got to also have a motion to ratify that, although it's been done by phone poll, but we need a motion to ratify that.
At your committee?
Yeah, at the committee level. Yeah.
The way they're going for it. Okay. Okay, good. John, you got one more? Huh? Okay. Other new business. More new business.
Talking about the same waterway, we had an engineer in here a while ago suggesting that we do some work on the dam further up in Mew Creek. Well, I got an email from Saugeen Valley here saying that we expect an announcement next week from the federal government saying they provide funding to assist in removal of a dam that Saugeen Valley owns up near Paisley. Lockerbie Dam on Paisley, yes. And as long as it is for the improved migration of fish upriver and generally improved water quality. So I think that would be a place for us to look at if we were considering doing anything with the dam further up in Mew Creek. If there's federal money there, might as well have it.
That would be a good idea. Can we give direction for staff to contact Saugeen Valley? And I believe I did hear a press release on it today as well, too, that it was the manager, or I think that's Wayne's title, isn't it? Wayne Broman, to contact Wayne, and we have a few bridges, or a few bridges and dams, but that one in particular to be looked at and see whether we can work with the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority on that project. I can see Larry's looking at that, so okay. Follow up on that one, Larry. Thank you. That would be the Newstead Dam. Yes, the one in Ayton's a little bit different again. Mark, you had a couple of other new business items.
There's a pending land transaction for a property at Part Lot 17, Concession 12 in the former township of Glenelg. And it was, I guess, discovered by the proposed purchaser that the 2-acre property had been, when it was severed back in 1975, there was a request from the former township of Glenelg to obtain 10-foot road widening along the frontage of that property. And apparently a bylaw was never passed to that effect, and of course neither registered. So I have prepared a bylaw for tonight. I've vetted it through the municipal solicitor Ian Johnson, and if council is okay, I would certainly recommend the bylaw be passed to formally assume that road allowance into the municipal road system, so to facilitate that transaction. I don't know if there's any questions or not.
Any questions on that? I think just to make that as an addition to the road system. So we'll need that as a direct motion. If there are no questions on it, was there anything else you wanted to?
Yes.
There was one other item, so before we get to direct motions, we'll go with this. Okay, the next one then, Mark?
I did receive an email, which I actually emailed to council after receiving it today at roughly 3:30. It's an email from Paul Arnell outlaying some objections to the proposed use of the unopened road allowance known as Park Street for snowmobile and ATV trail. So I do have a copy of that email. I thought council should be aware of that, and I'm not sure what direction council may have.
I guess the biggest concern from the landowner on either side of the unopened road allowance is the concern with trespassing off of the road allowance itself. It's been surveyed. We had a resolution here in the last time, and it was a three-way partnership on doing the surveying of that, and that's been done, Ken, from what I understand. So it's been very much identified from concession 1 right through to Aspen Street, from the former township of Glenelg through to Aspen Street or into the industrial park. In reading the article, I think the biggest concern, as I said, from Mr. Arnell's point is, you know, staying on that road allowance. I think with signage and direction from the Snowmobile Club and the ATV Club that are asking for the usage of that, and their information. You wanted to make a comment, Rob?
Yeah, that was addressed too, because there was concern that other users would be from other areas and so on and so forth. They are going to actually put barrier tape across the whole system to keep people on that trail system and sign it. And of course, with the Snowmobile Club, they do have, and along with the ATV Club, do have trail wardens, and they'll be monitoring those. And if there's anything, I think any problems down the road, then I suppose that maybe a joint effort to fence part of that off. But at this point, they're willing to put the barricades, or sorry, the tape across the whole system and sign it properly.
Councillor Lawrence. Carol?
I just note that he makes use of the words right-of-way. I believe it's a street allowance. It's a proper municipal street allowance. It's not just a right-of-way.
Exactly. Yeah, that's my understanding of it too. It is a registered road allowance that's there, albeit unopened at this point in time, but this would be on a seasonal basis. I guess this would be the best way to say it, that we are starting into the process of opening that road allowance on a seasonal. So we'll have staff respond to Mr. Arnell with some of the ideas that we have on keeping the traffic to the right-of-way, the road allowance, and that I believe, if I'm pretty certain of this, both clubs have insurance for any trespassing activities or liabilities.
That's correct.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Bell. John?
Yeah, quick question. Mr. Thompson, you might know this better than anybody. Do they have any access to funds for any fencing?
Yeah, yes, they do. And the Snowmobile Club has a numerous amount of culverts and all kinds of equipment and so on and so forth. And yeah, they have fencing, and it's available also at their disposal. And as I said, the ATV Club's working with them in hand. So there's if there's an issue there, they'll look after it. So, and I must add, I was reading his email this afternoon, and he mentioned that we were trying to put the trail system through there, and he gave me the same reasons back 3 years ago when we asked to put a walking trail through that property. And I guess the property we were looking at was to the north of that quite a piece, and he does own that land, but he was referring to the pit being open and everything else. Well, that's not happening, and it hasn't happened in 3 years, so I can't foresee that pit being an active one anymore also. So if there's an issue with that, and with the trespassing, then the clubs will deal with it.
Very good. Okay. Any other comments on that issue? Any more new business? Councillor Lawrence.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I mentioned this to you briefly a while ago, but would it be possible for you to discuss with the Mayor of Brockton the agreement for the Ellenwood Community Center? At some point in time in the new term, I think the whole agreement needs to be looked at, because there's terms in there about the 3-year and so on. But at this point, what we're asking for is an amendment to the agreement that would allow the board to carry its own insurance and audit, rather than having to use the Brockton. We're having a real problem with the allocation of insurance, how Brockton is allocating it to Ellenwood.
To the community hall.
Yeah, and they are now getting a quote from JLT, same one that's we're with both of them, but we cannot do that as a board. We have to have an amendment to that agreement that would allow the board to carry its own insurance and audit.
Okay. Yes, you have asked me informally, and I just haven't been able to bring it up with the there's a few activities going on in both municipalities, but I will try and get a hold of them before the next council meeting and see what we've got. Because I think it's the 1st of January is when the insurance kicks in. Like yes. If we have a policy of our own, it would be from the 1st of January. Right. So. And am I correct in saying that the way it is written, it has to go shall be Brockton's auditor and their insurance? Yeah. It's not like the fire board agreement, the municipality that carries the highest assessment in the agreement. No, it specifically states Brockton. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right. Will do. Okay. Any other new business? Ms. Cutting.
Sorry. I just want to make sure that this letter from next year regarding this changes in distribution lines, are we going to respond to this? Are we going to send them a letter and say that we will, when a road use agreement or something comes forward, that will? I think that it would probably be best to, I think we asked Ken
to respond that we wouldn't be, file consistency, we wouldn't have any private infrastructure on our bridges, being hung from the bridges. And I'll ask Ken to look at legal advice on how to word that response back.
What about all the other distribution changes they have here, though? Like they're asking for comment on the rest of the distribution changes on all the other roads, and they're asking for comment by October 31st. Do we not send back a letter saying that this is part and parcel of a road use agreement, which we don't have? My concern is, and I'll tell you why, is that it says East Durham is prepared to discuss the locational aspects of such modifications at the municipality's request. Well, you know where that gets us. So I think it should go back that we are, as soon as a road use agreement of some sort comes forward, that this will be considered. But at this point, there is no road use agreement. So, and they have never wanted to sit down with us to do that, so.
But as you will remember, Councillor Cutting, there was a court decision that they could put that in our road allowances, that the distribution lines
yes,
can
but
be
now
put
that they're
in.
modifying it by 2 and 3 meters, they need our approval to do that. And that's what I'm saying, is that we need, this is where it says it has to be, the OEB gave them certain restrictions to put it in. Now that they want to change that by 2 and 3 meters in some spots, they're asking for the municipality to look at that and say yes or no, or talk about it or whatever. So that's my concern, is that we get back to them with some sort of reply.
Would you be agreeable if we ask Ken to have our legal interpret from that, what was the because that wasn't divisional court that made that decision.
No, that was the Ontario Energy Board.
The Energy Board
made this decision.
Yes.
And yet,
in an interpretation of what that decision was and whether these modifications fall within the confines of that.
Well, see, they're saying that they don't. They're saying that because the modifications were that the distribution system line shall be located within 1 to 4 meters, and now what they're asking for is an extra 2 meters. So that's what I'm saying. We need to comment on this?
Yes.
Okay, as long as we do. Good, thanks.
So, Ken, are you fine with Larry's support or help there to
asking for an extra 2 meters.
Get Ed to look at that?
Yeah, we'll contact Ed to get the proper
Russell Christie
wording for that.
Yeah, very good. And what the legal ramifications are. Okay, thanks, Bev. All right. I'm not going to ask anymore. Let's continue on with addendums. Thank you, Mark. What did we have for addendums? Mark, was the bylaw?
Correct motions of the bylaw.
Yeah.
The Canadian Diabetes Association proclamation.
Right. So under notice of motion or direct motions, we have 2. The one was the bylaw 72 to clarify the from the road, from the lot for the road addition, from the severance back a number of years ago, and to declare the Canadian Diabetes Association Day and the World Diabetes Day and Diabetes Month for November. Those are the 2 direct motions. I'll need a 2/3 majority on that. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's more than 2/3. So I'll ask, there's the resolutions, if somebody can sign those for me, and we can get them introduced. All right. The first one, I have a motion moved by Dave Mollison and seconded by Mark Rapke. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Garry hereby proclaims November 2014 as Diabetes Awareness Month and November 14th, 2014 as World Diabetes Day. Are there any questions or comments on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Declare that carried. Just say thank you to council. That's one that I have a personal involvement with. I don't think there's anything financially that I'm gaining on that one, no. I have no pecuniary interest in it. Just an interest, Mr. Eccles. The second motion is moved by Rob Thompson and seconded by Don B. Marshall. Be it resolved that bylaw number 72, 2014, being a bylaw to assume PIN 37234-0077 LT, part lot 17, concession 12, NDR Ganelg, as in GS 92456 in the Municipality of West Grey, County of Grey, be now read first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and the CEO, Deputy Clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, be engrossed in the bylaw book. Is there any questions or comments on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you. There's no need for any further closed session, Mark. Question period. At this point in time, I'll ask the audience if there's any questions dealing with anything on the agenda. Mr. Black. John S.
There's a municipal election coming up.
Yay. I'm glad that your grapevine is very close.
Suddenly realized how quickly 4 years go around, and having had for the first time in a long time the opportunity to view the affairs of our municipality as a spectator, first in Glenelg and later in West Grey, I just thought it would be fitting to come out and thank our council body as a whole for the what I view as the professional manner in which they have conducted the affairs of our municipality during the last 4 years. Our taxes did go up this year, but looking at the building inspector's report this evening, it seems that there's plenty of additional revenue to cover the increase, which in our case was 29 cents over last year, enough to make a down payment on a postage yet. So that indicates that there has been good growth in the township to cover any expenses you may have had. Additionally, there was one little incident that bothered me a bit at the time, and I wasn't going to say anything about it, but it had to do with a fundraising event, and there was a big picture in the front page of West Grey Progress that showed a whole group of councillors pouring a bucket of cold water, ice cold water, on the poor mayor's head. And the most surprising thing about that was Councillor Lawrence in the background cheering him on. So,
only because I fought her to get the bucket.
Anyway, I'd just like to thank you all for the way you've conducted the affairs of the municipality for the last term. Thank you, John. Pleasure. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mark.
Going a little overboard.
Thank you all. Thanks, staff, too.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Black, for not only those kind words, but over the years on a personal basis, I got to say thank you to you for your continued interest and involvement and sage advice that you give, sometimes when it's asked and sometimes it just freely flows. But again, thank you very much, and it's always a pleasure that the doors are open.
Thanks, Ted.
Any other questions? Seeing none, then I think we're down to Municipal Act notices, which there are none, Mark. Adjournment. Mr. Mollison moves that we adjourn. Sorry, Ms. Cutting, but we are adjourned. Stand adjourned until the next council meeting.